I'm Jason from MakingStarWars.net, and this is Force Ghost Rob. Do you see Tina Turner over there? She rolling on the river? Oh, come on, that's not what. Wait, I'm saying she made it to Force Heaven. That's not.
Just me, the Toys R Us's, the KBs. That Toys R Us should be a blue ghost.
I mean, you either go to the place for Alec Guinness's or you go to the Thunderdome. So, I think she went to the good place. But yeah, it's true.
What would Alec Guinness ever do?
No, I'm saying Alec Guinness he's up in the good space. I'm giving Alec Guinness.
I thought you said or.
No, I mean either you're with Alec Guinness or you're in the Thunderdome.
Oh, I
Thunderdome
Turner was
is post-apocalyptic. You're a force. Come on, Rob, catch up.
She was in the Thunderdome. You can't blame me for that one.
I know, but she didn't want to stay there. You know, nobody in the Thunderdome wanted to be in the Thunderdome.
I stand by it, man. Like it was like a few days ago. I said, "You ever see an actor in a movie, or you just fucking hate him, and you can't not hate him because of the role?" And I was like, for me, it was Lawrence Fishburne. It kept me from seeing The Matrix when it came out because I was like, fucking guy beat up Tina Turner.
Oh, right. The movie,
that movie got me, man. I was like 12, 13 or something, but that was when I was really dealing with, the shit I saw my mom go through when I was a kid. Like, I don't know, it hit me around that age. It took years, but when I saw Lawrence Fishburne smack fucking, I was like, that motherfucker. I hated him more than Cobra Kai. Think about that, Jason.
Lawrence didn't do it. Lawrence just did a good job.
No, I know.
It wasn't Lawrence.
I know, but I was a kid. What do you want me to do? I've grown a little bit.
Yeah. No, it was a little bit. I haven't seen that movie like in years, so I don't know if it holds up. But when it came out, it was pretty good.
She should have won Best Actress.
What's Love got to do with it?
What's Love got to do with it? Yeah, she should have won Best. Angela Bassett. She should have won. They both should. I don't know if he did. Yeah, I think he may have got nominated, but she didn't win, obviously. Yeah.
They should have called it Private Dancer. That would have got the award. Star Wars Santa says, please like the show.
That's a musical joke, right? You just made a...
No, but isn't Private Dancer... Doesn't she have the song, I'm your private dancer? Doesn't she do that?
I don't know, man.
I think her song
Mary,
that's not...
Proud Mary.
Yeah.
I know what's love got to do with it.
Pretty sure she does Private Dancer too, and she gets pretty into it. Hi Santa. Santa says please like the show.
What about an observation, dude? Check this one out.
Okay. Rob just hates Lawrence's. Johnny Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah. Larry Kasdan.
Lawrence Cast. If there's a Lawrence Cast, then fuck that guy. I always say people.
Lawrence. Remember? What was that? What was that? You know it.
Lawrence. Batman.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, right. I know. Come on. I thought he said Florence when the first time I saw it.
Florence.
I was like Florence Henderson. Why would I say Florence?
Florence the Machine? No.
Yeah. No, I was thinking Florence Henderson. Back in the day, but the mom from Brady Bunch.
One of the stupidest rumors ever was that the lady from Florence and the Machine was Mara Jade in episode 7. I was like, just stop. No. And everyone was like, I think it might be real. I'm like, no, J.J. Abrams probably just like wanted tickets to prove to people he's not 50, but he's 50 and, whatever.
I'll never forget the time Ronnie the limo driver pronounced it Florence in the Macine.
in the
Macine. In the Macine. And they were like, what? What did you say? Like, people go... They like to show those clips of Stern talking to actresses and swimsuit chicks, whatever.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't much care for it in the 90s either. The E-Show, would show that stuff, but that was like 30 minutes of a 3-hour show. And the other 3 hours was when Ronnie or Gary would say something stupid and they wouldn't let it go for 3 fucking hours. Oh, man. Oh, it made me so... I listened live when he got the Baba Booey name. He called it Bob. He was buying animation cells, and he called it Baba Booey, and he said it was a Baba Booey, and they fucking man, that's what I learned. You could they call that in wrestling working the leg. You ever see that where they take the one leg and they keep working it to build like the guy's injured?
Mm-hmm.
You find someone's weak spot, you just keep attacking it. You just don't let it go.
Lawrence. bringing up.
Yeah, like Lawrence's. Yeah, I apparently have a weakness for Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence.
I like Lowry's. Like
you.
Oh, I was gonna.
You've always said that you would win the Hunger Games. You've always said that. You said you're never hungry and you'd win Hunger Games.
No, I got a soft spot for that one. I always like to win the bet. We'll get on to the Star Wars news in a minute, folks. I like to win this bet.
There is none.
I usually make it's like, what's the first music video Beavis and Butthead ever reviewed?
Oh shit! Nobody knows that. It's been lost to time.
It's Johnny Lawrence.
Really?
Right? Yeah. He put out a music video at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
From Blossom. Yeah.
Oh, Joey Lawrence.
Joey Lawrence. All right. Joey Lawrence. I said Johnny, but Joey Lawrence.
That asshole.
Joey Lawrence. Yeah. The first video they ever did was Joey Lawrence when he had hair.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson.
Oh, does he not have hair now?
No, now he looks like Joe Rogan.
That'll teach him. Teach him. Matthew asks, if Indiana Jones 5 is a box office failure, can we expect Kathy Kennedy to quit? I kind of don't think it would go that way. If I kind of like, I don't think they would make it seem like it was because of something in particular. So I think it would be like it would start to roll out, in a different way than that. What I will say is, I don't know if it's, time for her to go or whatever, but it is time for them to stop marketing their crap the way that they do. When I say crap, I mean it lovingly. Like this Indiana Jones, we've gone now for a whole year, no production updates while they were happening that were worth a damn, no behind the scenes stuff, like no fan interaction, in any way other than like Mangold yelling at fakers. That was funny though, but stuff like that. and then, but then like, we don't know, we didn't know what the plot really was. We don't know. And there's like kind of two plots that we're going to get into today. So, really general, but lots of general bullet point and spoilers will be in this episode. I don't think it's going to ruin the movie for you if you know the stuff, but it's up to you if it ruins it or not. I don't know if it will. I can't guess you guys, but I know for me, it doesn't really seem like it's going to ruin it. In fact, I think it's going to set expectations for me. So that's kind of why I like this little document we got here going. But anyways, on the marketing side of things, they wouldn't tell us what is Indy's emotional journey. They wouldn't be clear about that. They wouldn't be clear about what the MacGuffin was. So what they did was they had a very broad Indiana Jones. That's it. That's all we had. And now that's coming out after premiering at cons to negative reviews because it's a place where they fucking stand for 5 minutes to say that they don't like a movie because they're fucking down is up and up is down because they're fucking nuts. It's not the place to do that. Like fucking like Comic-Con. Comic-Con was the place to fucking release this movie or CinemaCon as Bestman suggested. CinemaCon. Actually, CinemaCon yes, not the fucking yes, and then we would go to the French Riviera. Like that's not that kind of fucking movie. It's a Big Mac of a film. You fucking idiots. And so they gave
they gave that movie, the Marilyn Monroe movie, like a 9-minute ovation. I remember that.
Yeah.
One,
that means 5 minutes is just what you have to do. So that means they got a 4-minute standing ovation.
Like, that movie was horrible. I was like, well, is it gonna? No, it wasn't good, man. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, like I said, like it's weird because when you discuss that culture, you sound like you're talking about conspiracies. Like Bestman, it's always like you're saying there's a conspiracy against the film, and I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you want to act like you're really, really classy and you're not just a fucking idiot with a bachelor's degree, you know what I mean, from like a moderately good college, you have to go and you have to pretend like if Indy's a 7 to you, you got to give it a 5. Because then that way, when you give the Wes Anderson movie, a 7, and they say, oh, but he gave the Indy movie a 7, like it's a fucking mind fuck. It's people standing up for ovations that don't mean anything. And so, there's so much
Yeah.
just pretension
It's
involved. And
how I feel when people tell me the greatest video game ever made is Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm like,
oh,
get the
it
fuck out
was,
of
it
here.
was, you were wrong,
Yeah.
but that is true.
Fuck out of
But
here.
it's like, it's like for me, indie falls to a different place. But where indie doesn't fall into a different place is that you have to actually fucking market it like in a way where people are like, oh, I'm interested in that. Because the Lucasfilm has done this film no favors. Disney or Lucasfilm, whoever's actually marketing, it's probably the Marvel
Yeah.
people at Disney, realistically, and they're just not doing it any favors. They don't really know what they're doing, and there's things that we're going to talk about in this plot synopsis. And when you hear it, you're like, oh my god, the teaser trailer could have told us why Indy's down and out, or it could have told
Can I,
us what the MacGuffin is. They did neither. Mm-hmm.
before we venture into that, I just want to make note.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan with how Avatar was marketed. Like you get everything that's in that trailer. You see, I mean, in the movie, you see the trailer, and you're like, yeah, you were really lean. I mean, look, the movie did well, but it did well by word of mouth, really. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It had no bigger or smaller an opening than a Marvel movie, or I
Right.
mean, so I mean, it's doing better than most films in terms of 150 opening weekend or something, maybe 128 if you take out like a Thursday or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the trailers, I was like, this is like milk toast. Give me you go back to that first Avatar trailer, that Fox cut. That's how you cut a James Cameron trailer,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Old, the 20th Century Fox stuff before the Disney takeover they had good trailers. Whoever,
Dude, the Deadpool
was,
marketing, the Logan marketing, Fox knew how to market some even some shitty movies.
mm-hmm.
Like I don't think the trailer to the Wolverine, the one Mangold did the shitty one.
Mm-hmm.
The one before that, the Wolverine Origins. I didn't think that looked that bad in the trailer. Looked generic, but it didn't look that bad. And then the one he did, the Wolverine, looked pretty good in the trailer. Then the movie was. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you. Disney marketing as a whole fucking sucks, dude. Like, it just does. Like,
Before we get to the synopsis, we'll hit these two questions. And Julian, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. He says, any truth to the Luke Anakin rumors for the Jedi Order movie? So I'm going to say, while I think it's pretty likely, very possible, almost should be a given, almost should have been a given in 9 though, right? But I kind of think that it's going to happen. But the last time I spoke to some sources at ILM, I wanted to know if there was anything on the horizon for that kind of stuff, anything major. And I was just told we don't know yet. We haven't really heard anything. And I was actually trying to get at, when's the second movie going to happen? The Dave Filoni one. I don't think anybody actually knows. So those rumors that we hear right now, unless it's like somebody very prominent, I wouldn't usually believe it unless you could source it from someplace really, really, really good. If Bespin tells you, then probably there's something to it. If it just comes out organically, like I think that one did, to the best of my knowledge, anyways, also, like, don't believe rumors that people have like George Lucas sources either, because that's just silly. I saw people on Reddit talking about that. They're like saying that's the equivalent of my dad works at Nintendo or my uncle works at Nintendo. If that's a my uncle works at Nintendo moment, which is that's never true. That's never real. It's not reliable. So, and then the last thing is
no, Jason. I know my kid works at ILM. I got the inside scoop now. Yeah,
they put the Ilm in film. Yeah, you always say that.
Yeah, the lamb and Ilm. Lamb, light and motion. Never mind. I love that episode of Poker Face. I love it. Bye.
Are you looking forward to the PlayStation showcase, Rob?
I don't know. It's Sony's hit or miss. Like they've said there's going to be big games in it, so sure. But generally speaking, man, like even like if you ever went to E3 presses, Sony like releases, like Sony events, generally pretty fucking boring.
Yeah.
Like they were the worst at E3. Like I remember going one year and it was an hour of spreadsheets. They put spreadsheets on the wall, Jason. Like, I was
But
like,
yeah,
what is this shit?
that was that time they made us go to that like arena off site.
Yeah,
And it was
offsite.
like
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like
I
look
was
at
like, oh,
Excel
you were there.
spreadsheets. Yeah. Yeah, it was
Oh,
dumb.
that's nice. You were there too. We were there together. We didn't even know, Jason.
Oh
We were
yeah,
all
no,
hanging
I
out.
mean, I looked
But
at you and I was like, Rob, and I'm like, not yet. It's not time. That's what I said.
not for nothing though.
Mhm.
If they do this PlayStation event here in another 15, 20 minutes, and they do put up spreadsheets, I will give them a 9-minute standing ovation. Like,
Yeah, which
you
is
know?
4 minutes. 4 minutes.
Yeah.
It's actually a 4-minute one. But yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping that there's just some surprise Star Wars thing that we didn't know about. It
Or
could
GTA
happen.
6. If GTA 6 is shown, I'll be excited because I
Yeah,
beat 5 twice.
based off of those like last leaks though, and then some other leaks that like happened, it seems like it's really far away still, doesn't it? Unless those leaks
I
were
have
really
no.
old content.
That
Yeah.
was really old content, as I understood.
Yeah.
The Miami stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I miss GTA and Red Dead. I could use more, but all right.
Fair enough.
So we're gonna get into the spoilers now, and
Here we go.
so there was a Frenchman, I think he was French, on Reddit.com, and his name was Lennox Jones. Okay, and he posted this, and he did his best job. He saw the movie once, at a festival, and he went and wrote about it in another language. That's not his native language, and he tried to relay it. And he didn't put the opening of the movie at first because we all knew it from the reviews. Everyone was spoiling the opening, so he was like, "What's the point?" But this has it in there now, and so we took what he did, and then Bespin did an edit on it for the show. So thank you, Bespin, for getting
Thanks,
it
Basman.
readable. And yeah, so this is the general like plot. We'll try to do our best to make it make sense. So the film begins in 1944, and a door swings open as we follow the camera to Indiana Jones, who's sporting a Nazi uniform along with a bag on his head. So it's the shot from the trailer. Jones has been captured by a group of Nazis who have taken him to the superior officer. The bag is pulled off, and we get our first look at the de-aged Indy. We get glimpses of a burning castle which is being bombed as an ally of Jones, Basil Shaw, hides in the forest nearby as he seeks out Jones. The Nazi officer flicks through Indy's papers, looking at the notes he's taken, which reveals Jones has been seeking the lance of Longinus. However the hell you say that. The Nazis have been looking for the relic themselves, as Hitler has been demanding it for years. And they've been successful in their hunt. The officer gloats. To the victor comes the spoils. As Voller appears and looks in the crate in which the lance is being kept.
I'm not going to interrupt you much, but
No, it's okay.
When he says to the victor goes the spoils, their commander should have been named Victor. I'm just saying. Like, that would have been that is a Lucas thing,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then old Victor walks into frame. Like,
yeah.
right.
But something else catches his eye inside before it's taken away by fellow Nazis, as is Jones. So Voller is what's his face? Mads Mikkelsen. That's Mads, right? And so we got young Indy, and then Basil Shaw is Toby Jones. The guy who played Capote one time. So in case anybody just doesn't know who the characters are. So Basil Shaw, that's Toby Jones, gets captured in the forest by Nazis and is taken aboard a train next to the burning castle. We learn that Indy is set to be hanged. We see Jones's head being forced into the news, but a falling rocket falls into the room below and causes the floors above, along with many Nazis, to be destroyed, which leaves Jones with his neck in the noose hanging above a large hole. But Indy, being Indy, manages to escape. We see Voller on the aforementioned train trying to get the attention of an officer. There's the word aforementioned. That's how we know Bespin edited this. Don't worry, I like the word too, so I'm not knocking it. But he's simply dismissed as Shaw is interrogated. Indy, escaping from the castle, knocks out a Nazi and steals his motorbike. So remember when we were watching that stuff get filmed, like over that summer, like last year, when we had like the guy with the fake Harrison Ford mask on? It's pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Jones is still disguised as a Nazi and allows Nazis to enter the vehicle sidecar. Indy drives off with the Nazis before giving chase to the train and successfully gets on board. Indy works his way through the train, which is filled with Nazis, as he attempts to blend in and keep a low profile. Jones makes his way to the Lance and discovers that it's a fake, but the room it is being kept in is full of artifacts and treasures. As Indy has discovered the truth about the Lance, Voller has lost patience with the officer he was attempting to speak with and shouts that the Lance is fake and that Hitler is going to be disappointed and angry. Voller proceeds to show, baby's mad. Voller proceeds to show the officer one half of the dial of destiny and tells the officer that his item will be of greater interest and worth to Hitler, as Basil takes an interest. So they're like, okay, this is fake, but this shit's real. Indy continues to make his way through the train and discovers the room that Basil is being held. He keeps a low profile in a restaurant on the train as the Nazis from Basil's room enter and sit. Jones makes his way to Basil, who tells him about the dial, and Indy is conversing with Basil. Planes begin firing on the train. As Indy and Basil attempt to escape, the Nazi officer from earlier catches the duo. Indy fights off the officer as he ducks from various tunnels, attempting not to get killed. Indy uses his whip to disarm the officer and whips the weapon to Basil, who shoots at Jones accidentally and not the officer. But Jones throws his Nazi off the train and shouts, "To the victor comes the spoils!" Burn. As the duo look like they're finally about to escape, Voller appears with a gun pointed towards Jones and Shaw, and he demands they hand over half of the dial they've stolen. Indy throws him the bag, and Voller walks away, but is hit by something on the side of the train, which Indy narrowly misses. Indy and Basil attempt to signal to the firing planes that they are not enemies, but their attempts fail, and the planes shoot down an approaching bridge. With no option, Jones and Shaw leap off the train into a river. The duo survive the jump, and Shaw states his disappointment over losing the dial, but Indy shows him he's still in possession of it. Indy puts his arm around Shaw as a British flag is raised over the remains of the Nazi train. Ha! Take that, Nazis. We cut to night. So that's like the whole opening right there. That's like the whole 1944 sequence.
You know, I hate to be that guy that goes, "Here's the movie I would have wanted," but I would say this.
Can't help it.
Once Disney acquired Lucasfilm and it had Indiana Jones in its grip, right, in its fucking fist.
Yeah,
they could have done a sequence back in the 40s with Indiana Jones and the Rocketeers, right? Got a little rocket package shit, put some Rocketeer in Indiana Jones. Hell yeah.
No.
Hell yeah.
No.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
No, if they ever did more indie though, or they do more stuff, like I wouldn't mind if they did go. You know how like there's always those like dumbass History Channel things like Hitler's UFOs and shit like that. That's just bullshit. Like if they wanted to give like all these like if they wanted to give Nazis rocket packs for shit, I'd be okay with that to some extent. I would usually rather it not go that way, but
and Indiana Jones.
Hey, what's his name? We'll never make a movie for them again. Unfortunately, he doesn't like them very much. No, but it would have been rad if he did it.
Yeah, Joe Johnston had directed this movie with the Rocketeers and Indiana Jones.
but
nerdgasm.
Anyway, you're weirdo.
Yes.
So we cut to 1969, and follow as the camera as it snakes its way around a New York apartment. This is what we saw in the trailer. As we follow through various rooms, we eventually make our way to a man sleeping on a couch, which turns out to be Indiana Jones. There's callbacks to past films in his residence, including pictures of his father, Mutt, and Marion, but we also see divorce papers. Jones is suddenly woken up by loud music playing by his downstairs neighbor who's having a party. By the way, the guy doesn't know what song it is. I'm wondering if it's the Velvet Underground, just based off of the fact that that's what Mangold was kind of selling about Indiana Jones while he was writing. He was talking about Velvet Underground in New York. So I kind of think it might be like Waiting for the Man or something, you know? But anyways, we'll see. Jones, shirtless.
The man to come around.
Mm-hmm. Jones, shirtless Indiana Jones, goes to his window and proceeds to yell below. But nobody pays any attention to him. He puts on a t-shirt and grabs a baseball bat as he proceeds to confront his neighbor.
Mangold's like, I tried to wrap myself in this movie.
Yeah, and I heard somewhere that he puts on like a baseball shirt, like a New York Yankee shirt or something like that. You know what I mean? And he has like the baseball bat.
Yeah.
And that's what he walks over with.
I need to get my Mangold cartoon up here, but I can imagine Mangold. We call him the Bear Jones. The Bear Jones.
Jones bangs on the door, and the neighbor answers, but he's not amused and he isn't surprised, as it's conveyed that Jones complaining is a common occurrence. Jones demands that they turn off the music and keep the noise levels down as he has work in the morning. The neighbor doesn't believe him and tells him to get lost as it's space day. So, hey man, it's space day, you know. 1969.
It's PlayStation Showcase Day. Shut the fuck up, making Star Wars. Keep the noise down.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Hey, my Red Dead news. Shut up.
Yeah, sounds right. Yeah. So we go back to Indy in his apartment as he pours alcohol into his coffee, as he hides a picture of Marion on the fridge, with a magnet. We follow Indy as he makes his way through a lively New York and onto the subway, where he sat next to a child dressed as an astronaut. Jones enters Hunter College, where he gives a talk on Archimedes. All the students seem disinterested other than Helena, who Jones doesn't recognize. Helena is a very well versed with knowledge of the topic at hand. Students enter the classroom with a TV ready to show the Apollo parade, which disgruntles Jones, and he leaves. Helena follows Indy to the professor's quarters of the university, where, once there, she sees Jones being thanked for his 10 years of service as they present him with a large clock. So, by the way, I think the implication would be that after the university fucked him over last time, he's left the college from Indy 4 and goes to this new one where he's like, fuck them, you know? So Jones,
he got a voucher.
Or maybe Marion and Mutt, maybe that's why they moved too. Maybe that's why he moved for them. I'm not sure. But I would imagine those people fucking, treating him like he was a fucking pinko probably made him fucking say, fuck you, I'm an American, and leave. So anyways, Jones clearly isn't a fan of the gift, which is the clock. But thanks the university for putting up with them for all this time. Jones exits the uni and pans off the clock to a homeless guy and enters a nearby bar, which Helena follows him into. But Helena herself is being followed by the CIA agent Mason. So Mason is the black woman with the afro, I believe, that we saw who was cast. She's not really in the movie. Anyways, Indy is sat at the bar drinking as the parade is being shown on the TV. Helena sits with Indy and reintroduces herself. We cut to a hotel in New York as we see Clabber attempting to learn German from a book as a man enters the room asking for the location of a Professor Schmidt, as Clabber points to an older Voller watching the parade from his window. The man walks up to Voller and thanks him for his work. By the way, remember that really short time when we thought Clabber might be Mutt, when there was like that rumor?
Yeah.
But that wasn't true.
That was a fun summer.
It was a fun 2 days, probably. Where we're like, oh nope, it's not.
I know.
Noting,
Mansgold got yelled at us on the internet over that one.
not us.
Like,
We were
not
good.
mud.
We were
It's
innocent.
not mud.
It's
Shut
not
up.
mud.
Making Star Wars.
He's all, I'm wearing a scarf. I'm wearing a scarf because I'm a real man. Noting
He's got the
that
toughest dude. Hold on. What's this guy's name? The Mutt wannabe. What's his name?
Clabber.
Claber. He got the same mustache as Mansgold, right?
Yeah.
Got the same tough guy mustache.
Get that tough guy mustache like me.
Yeah.
Noting that
Chicago-y.
this day wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for Voller helping with the Apollo mission. So think about what that is.
Nazis.
That means, yeah. So that Nazi who had that fucking train that Indy beat the shit out of, in 1944, is now working for the United States under Operation Paperclip, building this fucking rocket program. Okay. So Voller asks the man where he is from, to which he says the Bronx. Voller follows up asking if he took part in World War II. And this is a dark-skinned man, by the way, to which he did, and mentions he would fire the cannons. Voller claims that America and the Allies did not win the war, but rather Hitler lost it. So you guys didn't win, Hitler just lost. So Voller doesn't like that Hitler went for Poland. And he thinks that everything is great about the Nazis and their mission was true and just simply that Hitler was a fucking idiot. That's sort of the implication, I guess.
So he's going to become Florida man next, right? Like,
pretty much, yeah. He's going to get a little red hat and everything. Back in the bar, Indy and Helena are discussing Archimedes when she brings up the dial and Basil Shaw's obsession with the item. She reveals that she's currently seeking it and knows that Jones and Basil lost it in a river located in the French Alps. Indy isn't amused by the conversation and asks her if she remembers the last time they saw one another. She doesn't answer Jones's question and remains evasive, attempting to convince Indy to join her on her adventure to find the dial before Jones blurts out that he doesn't understand her determination to find an object that drove her father insane. You could hear that line in the trailer. Helena then reveals that her father, Basil Shaw, has died, which shocks Jones. We then see Indy and Helena back in the university as Jones shows her the antiques and relics in their possession, one of which is half of the dial seen in the 44 flashback. Indy tells Helena that this is only half, in that she needs the other half for it to officially be complete, which is what Basil has been looking for, and was convinced that the complete item would have time-traveling powers. Indy flicks through old letters from Basil, some of which aren't even opened. But Indy notes that Basil would always write him about the dial and that he had no interest. So, yeah, a little bit, kind of in a way, doing a little bit like what they did in 4 with what's his name, where he's a little bit obsessed with the artifact, and Indy's just nonchalant about shit. He gets obsessed, but then he gets nonchalant.
Didn't Mansgold deny time travel?
No.
Why do I remember that? No.
No, if he did, we would have been like, what the hell? What was interesting about it was we had some people tell us that it wasn't, who should have been right. But I think the spear is what confused them, looking back at it. We learned that Mason, the CIA agent that was following Helena, is working for Clabber. The latter of which is currently planning on breaking into Indy's office with his men, which doesn't sit right with Mason. One of Mason's colleagues questioned Clabber and his methods as they're suspicious of his goal, but they're suddenly shot dead by Clabber. Another one of Mason's colleagues enters and is also shot. Clabber and his men enter Indy's office, where they see Jones and Helena discussing the dial. Jones tells Helena that she's lying about Basil, telling her about the duo losing the dial in the French Alps. Basil wouldn't have lied, so why is she? Suddenly, Clabber appears with a gun pointed at the pair as Helena grabs the dial, runs off, and escapes on the roof as Indy pushes shells down on Clabber. As Indy is running through the university, he's shocked to see some of his fellow professors have been murdered and tries to flag down the police before he's apprehended by the CIA working with Clabber Voller and is shoved into a van. So, anyway, the driver of the van almost drives through a barricade blocking the parade and then reverses into a taxi. The CIA and Indy get out of the van and make their way through the parade on foot. As the group makes their way through the crowds, they come across a protest, which spurs Jones to start shouting one of their slogans, which gets them riled up, and he slips into the crowd. Clabber begins to fire his gun in the air. Indy runs to a police officer and asks for his help, pointing at Clabber, but ends up stealing his horse and racing through the parade to escape Clabber and company. Clabber, I don't know what it is, and the CIA give chase, and Jones on horseback races into the subway where he nearly misses one of the trains and rides the horse onto a track as he makes his way to the next station. Once at the new station, he hands a woman the reins of his horse and boards the train just as Mason arrives. And there was a line that should have been here where he says, the train's faster. It's pretty funny. He goes to the horse. He's like, the train's faster. Later that night, we catch up with Indy, who's working the streets. Later that night, we catch up with Indy. Tricks. Yeah, he's like really going with that Velvet Underground thing. Later that night, we catch up with Indy, who's walking the streets and comes across a television store, which is showing the news. Indy is shocked to discover that he's been accused of murdering his university colleagues, with the claims that Jones has been struggling since the death of his son, who died in the Vietnam War, and separating from his wife. Another man, so that's a big moment. Another man is watching the news with Jones and points out that it's him on the TV, as Jones tries to convince him that it's not, before the man is suddenly knocked out by Sala. We cut to Sala's apartment, where we see his grandkids, as it's revealed that Indy helped Sala and his family immigrate to the States during World War II. Indy suspects that Helena is probably looking to sell the dial, and that he believes there's only one place where she could do it, Morocco. Sala takes Jones to the airport, and once there, the former reveals he misses adventure, but Indy encourages him to remain behind. So that's where we hear the lines from the trailer of "I miss the sea" and all that shit. So what we learned in that moment right there, two things, or a couple of things actually, is that Indy is now wanted for murder. Sala shows up to save him. Sala immigrated to the United States thanks to Indy's help, where he now lives with his family. And then he needs to go to Morocco. But here's one of the things with the synopsis that's the problem that I have with it. Okay, is that it might be the film, but I think it's just the synopsis. I think something was just forgotten. Is that Indy's wanted for murder here? I don't know how that's resolved. And if the film happens how this says it does, where he's now wanted for murder, and then it never resolves, and it's just okay by the end, just because, that's going to break the movie for me. But I don't think anybody should jump to that conclusion that that's how this goes yet. It's one of the things that I wanted to get answered before we did it, which is why we didn't do a show yesterday, but I haven't got the answer yet. So we're just gonna have to roll with it, okay, and hope that the answer is there, and that it's either heavily implied and very logical, so it doesn't need to be said, and I'm just missing it from this, or it does actually absolve him somehow at the end. Like the government shows up, or. Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck on Indiana Jones getting higher for some reason. Like Indiana Jones and the White Rabbit, like that would have been a really fun. I know you're past that, but I'm going back 4 paragraphs ago.
Yeah,
he gets back, and then he chases the White Rabbit when he gets home.
Mm-hmm.
Then they admit, he killed all his. What if he did kill? What if he just turned Indiana Jones goes rogue? Oh well. Well, here we go. What do you think so far, Jason? Do you think they did the horse thing better in True Lies? Remember?
No.
Remember?
No.
No.
You know what? Honestly, I think True Lies is a bit overrated. I'm not a big Tom Arnold fan.
It's not. Cameron did that as a favor. That's a remake.
Yeah.
That's not an original. That's
Yeah.
the best part of that movie is Bill Paxton when he says the most inappropriate fucking shit I cannot repeat here. But the best joke in that film is when Paxton and the wife, what's her Jennifer
Jennifer
Lee,
Lawrence,
right? Curtis. Jennifer Curtis, yeah. When they're
Jamie
drinking
Lee
and
Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, when they clink their glasses and you can tell they're plastic. The plastic sound.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. So, all
right. So now we got Indy off to Morocco. As Indy sits down on the plane, and by the way, back in the day, you could just get on an airplane and flee town. Nothing was going to stop you. That's kind of how it
Catch
happened.
Me If You Can.
Yeah.
Remember that movie?
Oh yeah, great movie.
I think it might be Caprio's my favorite Caprio. The Caprio
it's up there.
Performance.
I think it's probably Spielberg's last great film, if you ask me.
And let's not forget what Nixon said about. Well, that was Monaco, not Morocco. Never mind.
Oh. As Indy sits down
taxes
on the plane, he begins to drink alcohol. So we got Indy with his drinking problem again. And so like I kind of think that I could be wrong, but you know how they were going to film like Casablanca and stuff like that, like back in the day when they were making this movie or Morocco and stuff. When they were doing that shit, I think they were like pulling on the Sierra Madre beats pretty hard, is what I think might be happening in this story. And I think that the majority of the people who have reviewed it just don't fucking know what they're talking about, so they don't know what that is. And but in Sierra Madre in that film, you end up with the Indiana Jones character, and he is pretty much a bum.
Looking at you.
Well, I mean,
at you, kid.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, he's pretty much just fucking like a fucking bum. He's just like a transient guy who gets on adventures, kind of. And
right.
So I think that they're kind of playing on that a bit in this, but once again, that's my assumption. So I'll have to see the movie and figure that out. But so Indy's on the plane, he begins drinking, and then as he stares at his own reflection in the window, we jump to a flashback. We see Indy, Basil, and a very young Helena. Basil is angry and wants to destroy the dial, but Indy saves the half we saw in the university. Basil stresses that the dial is dangerous and must be destroyed, and Indy promises that he will destroy it. And Helena is listening to the conversation. So she's always known Indy has had the dial and that he'd broken his promise to her father. As Indy leaves Basil's home, he's chased down by Helena, who gives him his hat. Indy tells Helena that her father will be well soon, as we focus on young Helena's face and pan out to present-day Helena staring at her child's reflection in a plane window. So we're doing that. I think we're doing that like fade pan thing that they do in the Indiana Jones films. This is one of the only times that we actually have a flashback in an Indiana Jones movie that's not the opening, though. Modern storytelling cannot refrain from doing flashbacks, whereas George Lucas hated them, and you don't see them in the original Star Wars movies, and you don't see them in the original Indiana Jones films.
You know who also detests flashbacks? Christopher McQuarrie.
Christopher McQuarrie. Yeah. I think I'm more okay with it in films that are standalone and not sequel bait, because then you are just telling a complete narrative. But when you have these stories and I think like it's that are huge, I'm like, nah, that just ends up becoming its own thing and becomes a complication. But anyways, in addition to Indy and Helena traveling to Morocco, we see that Voller and his men are also traveling there, and I believe they're on the same plane right now. Following the tale of Helena, Mason tells Voller that the CIA can no longer allow and support his quest to find the dial following the events of New York, and that Voller has disrespectfully skipped meetings with the President of the United States. As Mason and the CIA attempt to commandeer the plane and turn it around to the States, Voller and his men kill the CIA on board with the use of gas, but Voller shoots Mason dead.
Oh, not Taco Bell gas, but like
yeah.
Right.
No,
not that kind
just
of gas.
like Smilex. I love that Joker.
I laid a trap. I gave them burritos, and in about 30
Yeah.
minutes, we're all gonna feel it.
No,
Like,
not
we
like
gotta
that at
wait.
all. Completely different.
Okay. All right.
So in Morocco,
Taco Bell was around in the 60s. Just saying.
in Morocco, it was like probably like one or something. In Morocco, we learned that Helena is heading to a shady backroom auction to sell the dial, which Indy tracks down. The auction is taking place at a bar, and inside the bar, we're introduced to a friend of Helena's, a child named Teddy, who's talking with a pilot who recognizes Indy, who's attempting to make his way to the back room. Teddy attempts to stop Jones but fails. Shortly after, Indy enters the auction room. Voller too walks in. Indy speaks with Helena, saying she left him for dead in New York for the dial, and Voller joins in on the conversation. Bidding begins on the dial, with Voller trying to secure it. Indy convinces Helena that it should not fall into the wrong hands, with Voller being those wrong hands. Indy uses his whip to steal the dial, and a chase begins featuring Indy and Helena, with Voller's men and the monsters in the back room auction seeking out the pair. By the way, I've heard that Anthony and Gruber is like the top bidder. The actor who people wanted to play like young Indy. He's like the bidder.
Movie?
Yeah, that's what I heard. There's
as a red herring or a red fake. What would you call that? Right? It's not a deep fake.
I think it's just putting him in the movie. I don't know because of the. I guess. There's twists and turns throughout the chase. I don't know. I guess at some point, Voller obtains the artifact. Teddy helps the duo. Helena and Teddy helps the duo. Helena and Teddy leaving Jones. Jones catching up with the parents and saving Helena's life. So this is all, who knows what that shit means. Helena jumps onto the back of Voller's car, who's in possession of the dial, and grabs hold of it. But she's going to get killed by attackers coming from behind. Indy urges her to let it go and saves her from the impending attack, as Voller escapes with the dial and makes his way to his helicopter. Following the chase, Indy and Helena bicker about the loss of the dial, their behavior during the chase, and who's more useless. Helena reveals that she knows a location of an ancient device that may point to where Archimedes stole the dial. Before they go to the location of the device, our heroes must decipher a Greek code, which the duo do. Jones is able
to drink your Ovaltine.
Oh no, it's Space Age. Tang. Tang, brought to you by Space.
Right. Be sure to drink your Tang. What's Tang?
There's only been a Tang since the war. Okay. Jones is
Nazi juice.
is able to decipher the first part, and Helena is able to decipher the second part. They believe the clue that could lead them to the second half of the dial is somewhere in the Aegean Sea. Indy reveals that he knows a guy with the boat and great driving skills who can get them there. Cue Ronaldo. On Ronaldo's boat, Indy rereads the letters from Basil and discovers that there are two dates of interest: August 20th, 1939 and August 20th, 1969, which is just a couple of days away. The belief is that Archimedes realized that through the stars and mathematics, the dial could predict the faults in the sky, which would allow a person to get there in the present time and jump to another if they were able to read it. Later that night,
in our stars.
Later that night, Indy and Helena are having a conversation which leads them to discuss Basil's theory that the dial has time travel powers, which prompts Helena to ask Indy what historical moment would he attend if he could. Indy says he wouldn't attend any event, but instead he would try to stop Mutt from joining the Vietnam War, which he only joined to piss off Indy, as they weren't getting along.
He just did it.
So yeah. No. So I've heard this relayed two different ways, just for the record. One is this one right here, and the other one is that he told him not to get killed, and then Indy makes a quip like he only got killed to make me mad. You know, like almost like ironically, just like saying that was his last way. So maybe both are true, but
that's some dark fucking humor right there.
Yeah. He says he would hope to prevent the death of his son, which in turn caused the collapse of his marriage. Helena seems surprised by his answer and does not know how to respond, but is moved by his words. In the morning, Helena, Indy, he's also I'm single, doll. Anyways, in the morning.
Hold on, just want to think about it for a second. About like we always talk about time travel, but like let's say you just did go back. You're like, I want to go see the pirates. I want to see Master and Commander. You go back there, you'll probably be killed and gutted in about 30 minutes. How long do you think you're gonna last?
If you follow along, I will answer that for you, Rob. We get there.
Okay.
We do get there. But yeah,
I don't think people will last long if they time travel.
I mean, realistically, I mean, you may just get there and within the first day fall ill of a virus that you're not immune to anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, time travel would be a difficult. We'd have to master some other shit before we could ever do that. In the morning, Indy, Helena, and Ronaldo dive into the sea. Oh, also, you would need to probably bring a water supply because you wouldn't be able to handle that water with the pollutants and the natural stuff in it. Couldn't deal with that either. So
it's like the time when they were shooting that live action Street Fighter movie. They all went down south and they all got Montezuma's revenge.
Yeah, Indiana Jones got it.
Yeah, Oh, that's
first
right. That's right.
Yeah, it's one of the only instances of star diarrhea that I could think of. In the morning, Indy, Helena, and Ronaldo.
Trump. Giuliani shit his pants once, right? Like if he farted right on camera.
Yeah.
They're celebrities, I guess.
Yeah.
Right on camera, dude.
It just does it. It's got the fucking black shit running down his face.
Right on.
Yeah.
I know. I hate to bring up politics, but we're talking about time travel. I'm like, I just remember looking at it like, are we fucking like? I was looking around. Where are the cameras? Cameras looking at me. Like we in that Truman Show at EdTV.
Well, so just so we know, we're talking about being able to time travel anywhere at this moment, and Rob is just wanting to go back to when Giuliani farted.
2020. Yeah, 2020. I wasted it and I go to the worst fucking time ever, right? Short of World War II and Vietnam. Like, yeah, just to watch him fart on a woman on live TV. Yeah.
That's why the dial's too dangerous. So, all right, in the morning,
don't put it in my hands.
Yeah. In the morning, Indy, Helena, and Ronaldo dive into the sea towards the location of the second half of the dial. So that's that shot we see of the people diving. The trio only have 3 minutes to dive, get the dial, and get back to the surface. The scene is tense and features a bunch of eels. Do you follow along with that? What that means? Indy doesn't like snakes. Indiana Jones
because they're water snakes. Right.
And I think that is lost in this little translation here, but I think that's the implication. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it's.
What if he had gone into the Blue Oyster Cult bar? And then they're like, want to say try a snake? And he's like, I hate snakes.
Okay, right? So Blue Oyster Cult is the Fear the Reaper band, and you're thinking of the
Blue Oyster Bar.
You're thinking of the bar from Police Academy, right?
Blue Oyster Bar. Yeah,
okay, there we go.
Same difference. Occult bar. What's the difference?
A bar and a cult, very different things. Totally different things. If someday my kids will go into a bar, I won't like it, but I'll be like, hey, my kids went into a bar. If my kids go into a cult, Rob, I have a completely different reaction than my kids going into a bar. So, anyways, as the trio reaches the surface, Voller and his men appear on another boat and snatch. So see, like this is where like the synopsis fails, you know, like clearly like they pop out and then Voller and them are just like waiting up there for them. And that's one of those things that very much is the Indiana Jones kind of thing. The fucking Nazis do that a lot, like in the films that we've had before. And when it's done with the comedic timing, it's very endearing. If not done with the comedic timing in the edit, it's going to play like very convenient that the bad guy just shows up all the time. But that's a convenience that you will go with for action and comedy in the original Indiana Jones movies. Like, you literally can't have a problem with that here and then be okay with it in the other films unless the execution of those beats is off for some reason. I have a hard time imagining it would be, but anyways, that said, Voller
Remember,
Mhm.
Jason, you remember in the movie Cable Guy when Luca Owens goes into, or Owen Luke, whatever his name is, he goes into the bathroom and then out of nowhere, Jim Carrey just appears behind him.
Yeah,
That's like
that's
that.
how the Nazis are in the Indiana Jones movies.
They're like David S. Pumpkins. Sorry.
Voller demands Indy to translate the Greek code on the artifact, but he refuses. Voller is growing frustrated by Jones's reluctance, threatens to kill Ronaldo unless he does as he says. But Indy continues to refuse, and thus a man of his word, Voller shoots Ronaldo. Helena negotiates a deal with Voller and immediately begins translating the code for Voller. Indy is disappointed in her actions, but realizes she has some dynamite in her pocket from the boat from earlier, which she had taken from Ronaldo's ship.
Maybe she's just happy to see him.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I think like the dynamite, there must be something like they must have needed the dynamite when they dove or something. I don't know. But she asks Voller for a cigarette. He discreetly passes it to Jones, who can light the dynamite. After telling Voller that the location of the second piece of dial is in Archimedes' library in Greece, she throws the stick of dynamite below the ship deck, with the distraction allowing Indy, Helena, and Teddy to escape onto another boat. Helena boldly celebrates her heroics, but Indy brings the mood down by telling her she's just lost a valued friend and that her behavior is disrespectful. So, and is there there's something I think that might be missing from this too, is that like it turns out like when they get to the place, she was engaged to a gangster at one point, and then the gangster comes after them. I think that might be missing from this too. It's revealed that Helena lied to Voller about the location of the second piece of the dial, and only Indy is able to translate the code, which reveals the location of the second part of the dial is in Sicily, where Archimedes' tomb is located, the cave of Dionysus. When buying items for the quest, Teddy tells Helena that she's not in control and that she's answering to Indy. Helena dismisses the claim and tells Teddy that she's just using Jones, and that once she finds the second half of the dial, she'll abandon Indy and sell the second piece. Teddy drifts away from the group and steals some money so he can buy an ice cream, but runs into Voller, who followed the group as he didn't believe what Helena told him. Indy realizes that Voller has taken Teddy and that they now have a race against time, as he believes Teddy will tell Voller what he knows after being captured. But it's also why they have time, because they need to interrogate Teddy, you know? Helena doesn't feel comfortable abandoning Teddy, but Indy says...
Cut to Goonies when they're interrogating Chunk. One time,
Yeah.
I threw up, and everyone threw up.
Yeah.
Right? Like that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, Indy says it's the safest thing for him, as they won't kill him, as they need him.
Right.
And that Teddy knows this, as he's a smart kid. Indy and Helena steal a wedding car and race off towards the tomb, which is open to the public. Remember that when we saw that little tiny like wedding car, like that just married car?
Yeah, we saw that. We saw that last summer, right?
Yeah, we'd video that back then.
Yeah.
They arrive at the tomb before Voller and his men. The duo seek out part of the tomb with the most echo, as stated in the code. They believe an opening near the top of the cave, so they see an opening near the top of the cave and climb towards it. Helena on the climb gives Indy grief about his struggles to climb due to his age. As they progress through the tomb, they encounter lots of insects like the ones featured in Temple of Doom. Voller and company aren't too far behind our duo and follow their tracks. Teddy and a large man. So remember the really big buff bodybuilder German guy from that was like chasing Indy with. So this is who he's talking about right here. Oops.
Okay.
Teddy is handcuffed to that guy. Underwater, Teddy is able to still. So anyways, Voller and the company aren't too far behind the tracks. Teddy and is handcuffed to a large man, and they fall into the water inside the tomb after a rope bridge snaps. So the rope snaps, they fall in. Under the water, Teddy is able to steal his cuffs key from the large man and escapes as the man dies. So Indy doesn't have to fight the big guy. I think they just realized that was going to be ridiculous. So the guy drowns.
Fucking brittle.
Yeah. Indy and Helena solve a booby trap that requires water pressure and enter the room where Archimedes' tomb is hidden. They saw a mural of a raven with futuristic metal claws and what appears to be an extremely early version of watches. With
Jason,
Indy, huh?
Jason,
what?
It just dawned on me. Do you think maybe this movie should have been about young Indiana Jones during World War II, which we never saw, right? We never saw him during World War II. Mm-hmm. Do you think they should have just had him go into the future and team up with his old self?
That's what Bespin and I thought was happening in the trailer when he sees that Nazi in the fog far away. We thought it was Indy seeing himself. We thought it was going to be a thing like
up
that.
With himself,
yeah,
like that would be the thing, like because
I don't know.
Ingrid would be the guy on set, you know what I mean? Like, and they could
because sure. I mean, all of that, like that double stuff.
But they got Ingruber already, but
but I mean that kind of thing. I mean, you're the guy that doesn't like Back to the Future Part 2, so I'm going to say you wouldn't.
I don't. It's not. Yeah, but that's not because of that. It's
I know
because they just remade. I'm not saying have them run through all the fucking films we've already.
No, I know that. I know. But what I'm.
And he could have been waiting. Old Indy could have been like, I knew I have one last event. I had to hang on. I know this shit's coming, and then it comes. You know what I mean? Like
what I could have used a moment like that. I could have used a moment where something on that train from the beginning plays into the end, in some way, but
because this way you could have a young Indiana Jones fighting a big dude, little, you know what I mean? Right there with the old guy, it wouldn't.
Yeah, Indy seeing the guy he used to be before his son died and his wife left him or whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's an idea there for sure, but also I think there's a lot of room to fuck that up. So, but we'll see if the movie is just because a bunch of fuckers at Con said that it's bad doesn't have me going, this is bad.
I'm not. Right now, that's not what I'm laughing about. Okay. I can see how you interpreted that. That's not what I mean. But what I'm saying is the one thing that was said at Con that everyone did like was the opening, and I do think that they perfected the deepfake so well. Look, right now we're gonna look at deepfake 5 years from now, and we're gonna be like, it's not that great compared to what it is 5 years from now, but.
It went both ways on the I think I read them all. It was about split 50-50 with people going, oh, it's cool and I could go with it. And then people going, I can't, I hate it. So
right. Yeah, that'll get over it. But that I just think like that is the magic trick of the whole the whole final adventure. I mean, if you were in your 80s and you could team up with 20-year-old Jason to go see like the last Star Wars movie or something, like wouldn't that be an adventure?
Nah, I'd kill the younger me and take his place.
That's what I'm saying. That's like
continually in a time loop because of it. They saw a mural. So yeah. Anyways, though, I thought that's what they were doing in the trailer, and once again, why the implications of the marketing was fucking stupid, because in a way, there's a chance that people might think that this is a different movie than what it is.
It implied I'm not going to say a better film because I haven't seen the movie, but it implied a more adventurous idea. How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, and I would say that idea does feel a little bit more in the Lucas realm. And I think that this realm, but I think that this one is more of the conservative, like this could be a good movie path, But if it's not a good movie, then it doesn't matter. They should have done it, right? But
it's a hell of a gimmick, man.
Yeah. But there is kind of a twist that's coming that I think is why they didn't go that way. Anyways, so they saw a mural of a raven with futuristic metal claws and what appears to be an extremely early version of watches. Indy noting that the watches wouldn't be invented for another 1,000 years. They find the second half of the dial, but as they do, Voller appears and he confronts the pair. So once again, Voller just appears, and like does that play weird or not? That's what me and Bespin were questioning. Voller demands that Indy hand over the dial or he'll shoot Helena. Indy is reluctant, but does so as she's the only family he has left. As Voller begins to assemble the dial, we see Teddy sneak into the room and jumps on Clabber, which causes his gun to drop, with Indy picking it up and firing it. However, Indy himself gets shot in the shoulder. So, by the way, I think this Indy getting shot in the shoulder thing might have been done to cover his actual injury that happened when he hurt himself, in case he was walking around with any kind of like stuff. I'm curious if it was like weird coincidence or if that's. Do you think maybe they really shot him?
What if they had just had a Wampa like hit him in the arm to, you know what I mean?
Right.
It works. So, classic Lucas technique.
Teddy wants Helena to escape with him, but she doesn't want to leave Indiana, but does so with plans to save him later. Voller and his men stuff Indy into a van and take him to an airport where they'll be using a Nazi plane to get to the time vault. I think it's time vault. Or fault. Oh, no, it's the time vault in the sky. Unbeknownst to Voller, Teddy and Helena have been following them. Helena sneaks onto the Nazi plane after instructing Teddy to steal and fly a plane, which he's never done before. So that's why we have him talking to the pilots in the opening. Aboard the Nazi plane, Indy asks Voller what he's planning to do, assuming he's going to assassinate Winston Churchill so that Germany can win World War II. But to his surprise, Voller reveals that he wants to kill Hitler. Voller explains that he wants to prevent Hitler and Germany from invading Poland, where he's from. As they approach the coordinates of the time vault, Indy begins to laugh, saying that Archimedes was wrong and didn't account for the continents moving, and that Voller would not be heading to 1939. Voller tries to stop going towards the time vault, but it's too late. As they go through the time vault, Voller celebrates as they're in Sicily, and the continents moving didn't change anything, before he quickly realizes that they're 2,000 years before 1939, as they see the Roman siege of Syracuse. We see Archimedes trying to complete the dial as his assistant tells him that dragons, the planes, have arrived. Archimedes heads outside to see the planes as the city is under siege. Clabber begins firing down on the ships below, calling them savages. Fucking Nazis, dude. Helena begins dispatching Nazis on the plane. I think he's from Alabama, though. Helena begins dispatching Nazis. I guess you can't have Alabamian Nazis. We do have those, so I take it all back. Fucking Nazis. Helena begins dispatching Nazis on the plane, throwing some out and opening the floor beneath them. So she opens the bottom of the plane, and the Nazis go, "Ma!" As the planes are getting attacked by Romans and Greeks from below, right? Indy has managed to untie himself and sneaks away. He runs into Helena and hands her a parachute, but Voller catches up with them and tries to snatch it from them. But the duo jump out together, leaving Voller and Clabber to go down with the plane. So that's what we saw in that shot where they jump out of the plane. Indy and Helena reach the ground, and Jones is bewildered by what he's witnessing. Remember, we saw that shot of them like with the parachute having just landed. Helena tells Indy that they have to go, but he says that they should go without him. Archimedes discovers the burnt corpse of Voller and takes his watch along with the dial. So does Voller's watch, is that what inspires Archimedes on this whole thing? I wonder.
It's a loop.
It might be, but it's hard to say. Archimedes then discovers Indy and Helena. Indy and Archimedes converse in Greek, with Helena adding that Archimedes rigged the dial so it would always come back to this moment, so that Archimedes could be saved. We learn that Archimedes wasn't able to complete the dial, and it's only able to complete it when he discovered the deceased Voller, along with the completed dial and his watch. So they made the paradox, yeah. Helena continues to try to convince Indy to go back with her to 1969, but he refuses. telling her there's nothing there for him, even if it means he'll screw up time by staying with Archimedes. So she knocks him out. So he's like, I want to stay. And she's like, boom. She takes him out. And then he wakes up and he's in his New York apartment with multiple bandages wrapped around him, along with pain medication scattered around the room.
Is he going to shit in a hole? You know, there's no like what's the plumbing like back there in the Archimedes? Did they have the I mean, they had the lead pipes back then, right? Didn't they? The lead pipes of Rome? You know that one?
I don't know.
Yeah, they had lead pipes that were fucking crazy.
Yeah, that old fucker would die quick. As he makes his way out of bed, we notice Helena, and he makes his way to her. Indy is disappointed that she brought him back against his wishes, and reiterates that there's nothing here for him anymore. But Helena tells him that there is, as we see Marion holding a bag of groceries, shuffling in through the front door, stating that there was nothing in the refrigerator. Indy is shocked to see her and asks why she's come back with Marion, asking if Indiana Jones has returned. Teddy and Sala arrive, with the former asking for ice cream, as Marion bought some. Helena takes the two of them outside, telling Teddy that they'll get ice cream later. They'll get better ice cream. Basically, let's give them space. As they
joke, the ice cream, huh?
Yeah, well, Teddy likes ice cream. That's like the thing. As they leave, Sala sings the song he's saying after being kissed by Marion. So he fucking kissed Marion. That's what that means. Marion asks if his shoulder is hurting, and he asks her, where it's hurting. To which he says everywhere. Not she. Should be he says everywhere. Like the original movie.
She left him for the young Indy. How great a triangle. See, we had a young Indiana Jones.
You're fucking crazy.
And you had old Marion, and Marion's hitting on young.
We got one line.
Oh my god,
bro, we got one line of done, and then we could go to town. Okay. So the twosome reenact the boat scene from Raiders as Indy kisses Marion, and then the camera pans to the balcony where we see Indy's hat drying, as the scene turns into a small circle around the hat. Just as the scene is about to end, a hand grabs the hat. So it's Indy grabbing his hat. So it does the Mando 3 ending with the kid little iris thing. And then so Indy is back with his wife at the end, and there we go. So that's
the ending?
That's the ending.
That should be the middle of the movie.
Well, yeah, so that's where this gets. That's where, yeah, it's like he wants to stay. He wakes up and Marion's come back for him, and so yeah, and I guess the dial resolves itself, because once it's left there and then she goes back, everything is sort of fixed, I guess, and then he just has to kind of save Indy has a chance to save his marriage. He's not out of time for that. It's kind of like the ending, little point there. So,
yeah, man, had the CIA captured her and then put them together and they didn't like one another,
mm-hmm.
I know, okay, you're making because a kid died, but it could have been really tragic. I mean, they could have gone for that. And then young Indy shows up. I don't know, man. There's.
Well, what was my problem with the synopsis as it is from all of the leaks that have come out, and this, and trying to corroborate it, is Indy's wanted for murder. That's why he runs after Helena.
Right.
That's one of his things, to get out of town and just get on with this. And how is that resolved? And there is the moment where he goes to the cops and asks the cops for help. And then he gets nabbed by the Nazis, but were they like, oh, well, you got nabbed by Nazis, therefore you were set up and you're absolved? That's the one thing that I just can't right now make heads or tails of. Yeah, and I hope the movie does.
In 1960s, cops they weren't a big fan of professors, right? They're like the cops we got now.
Yeah,
Harrison Ford played one in Graffiti.
Pro-authoritarian assholes, yeah, probably. Yeah. Racist, probably, yeah. So,
100%.
Yeah, well, he's white, so he'll be okay. That's the answer. He's a white guy. He's okay.
Yeah, that's the trick with time traveling too, man. I got friends of color, and they're like, you can't time travel if you're black. Like
Yeah.
even like, look, man, if Marty McFly were
Well,
black and he went back to 1955, that makes his job a whole lot more difficult. You know what I mean? Whole lot more difficult. Like
you
that's the
really
truth,
can't.
so.
I mean, realistically, I mean, just with just nationalism, you can't fucking really time travel, at all either.
What do you
But
mean?
like
Oh,
if
people
you're an
choose?
Englishman and you end up in Germany, and anytime they'll be like, "What the fuck are
Okay.
you doing here?" They're gonna, you don't like.
Right. If you were Irish and you end up in,
Yeah,
1800s
you went from
America,
around
they'd
here,
fucking hate
boy.
you.
You know.
Yeah. You end up in gangs in New York, right?
How does he even get on a public plane at an airport if he's all over the news wanted for murder? That's because it's 1969 and you could literally just do that. You literally just walk
Yeah.
up, not show anything. Doesn't matter if you don't have a bag, just put down the fucking money, get on it and go. So,
Honestly, up until Ted Bundy, you could do that. That's how he got away with shit.
yeah.
You know, like
Yeah. I mean,
he broke out of jail twice and still managed to move halfway. I mean, he went to Chicago, he went down south, he went to Florida, murdered a bunch of fucking people. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, like that. Those kinds of stories of felons and fugitives getting on planes and making it out was super common. Happened many times. So that's one, yeah, where it's fine. It's probably fine. You could he's just one guy who killed a couple of people at a college in New York. They're not going to shut down the airport for that. 1969. You know what I mean? At that
Yeah, when
point,
they had the Sudanese Liberation Army, and you know what I mean, all that stuff going on, and
yeah. So it's
hippies in Vietnam, and fucking crazy times.
yeah. But yeah, so like the way that the ending has been conveyed in every single leak though is pretty abrupt. And I'm curious though, but I'm curious if there's like a clear thematic kind of like note that is hit between the conversation with Archimedes that's missing in these that makes that like naturally fall into place and make complete sense. But it could also just be a pacing thing in terms of like, here's what happens, but if you pace it out, it feels fine. But it does come off a very abrupt, like in
Jason, when
every
you read it,
iteration.
it came off abrupt. I was like, "That's it."
Well, that's what I'm saying though, because the writer is just like, then this, like that's how spoilers go. They don't talk about.
I hear you, but I was picturing it in my head the whole time, and I'm like, that felt like the lead into the final act. You got the whole team together, you know what I mean, and then but then no, not one more thing, not one more thing, just
Well,
interesting.
Well, once again though,
after the minecart, you still get after the minecart race in Temple Doom, you still get the bridge sequence, and then after he cuts the bridge, it's still climbing up the bridge, which is a whole sequence in of itself, you know.
Okay, but that level of critique that could all be in there. We just don't know the fucking airplane like sequence. We don't that there's a lot that goes into that like we're gonna have to see. You know what I mean? To see like
right,
how.
But I'm just telling you based on what we saw. I'm not saying that's the way it is.
Yeah,
we're gonna see the movie and see how it plays out. But.
Right. But that's what I'm saying though, is like if this person wrote Temple of Doom out for us to be like, there's a bridge, then they cut it, and then the bridge, and then Indy doesn't fall, and then the fucking British army shows up, like that's how it would just be like that, like boom, 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 kind of. So that's where I can't really tell,
And then
like I said, yeah. I mean that's why I'm like on the one hand, like knowing the story. So like now though we do know what the story is, and the story is that Mutt is killed in Vietnam, and Indy is down on his luck, disconnected from his wife, becomes sort of an alcoholic. Nobody really wants to deal with him. He's his students. There's also stuff that's like missing from that synopsis where like his students are super bored with him. They don't want to hear him talk about anthropology. And it's like 1969, politics of the time are going on, and he's not a hot fucking professor. So the girls aren't writing I love you on their eyelids anymore and stuff, So there's like a lot of like kind of like, sunsetting stuff going on for Indy that's like very subtle. And one of the things I heard somebody say that was implying they had seen the film is that like the movie isn't bad, it's just fucking depressing. And so
Down or like
I
Superman
don't
Returns, right? Like maybe like Superman Returns, where it's a downer.
might be.
You know, a good spot for a joke would have been where he's got the TV on and it's Gilligan's Island, but Willie Scott is the ginger role, right? Come on,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
something Lucas would do, man. Like,
I had heard, I don't know if it's true, but I had heard that like Kate Capshaw doesn't want to be seen on camera anymore. That she's like I was a foxy woman and I did movies and I'm not going to come and show up now. I'd heard that was like her like take on it. So, but yeah, that would have been, if it like in the novelization, that would have been a great idea, you know?
right.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, I think it's like you know, I think it's a pretty good story. It seems competent. It seems like it does. I mean, because like you know, it's got, you know, the flashback World War. We see India in World War II. We end up getting the chase. You know, like in this synopsis, the chase with the little cars that we saw like 7 minutes of. That's not in here. Like it's barely mentioned in here. And it's like one of the best things that like I've seen from the movie. And we get the underwater sequence where they go to like get the dial from underwater.
From the Fortress Inquisitus.
Yeah, Inquisitorius. We have so we have that. We got the fucking, you know, we get the Archimedes sequence. We get the guys from back then fighting, and that's one of the things that was kind of missing from the synopsis too, and this version is when they end up back in time. When they end up back in time, and Valor's like going crazy on them, like the plane and stuff is getting hit with arrows and shit. Like they get full on attacked after he's like attacking and calling them savages and stuff. Like they end up like not, because they're flying low to get to the rift originally or whatever.
Right.
So and then it's basically says that Archimedes, there's that moment in there that I don't understand in the narrative too, is that like Archimedes doesn't understand the tectonic plates. Continental drift, he doesn't understand. And Indy laughs because Valor doesn't take that into account. But then, so I would think that would mean they would end up in a different geographic location. But then they go through and then they end up still in Sicily. So I'm like, so I think there's something kind of missing in the translation there.
Well, this comes from like there was an old theory about time travel that you couldn't, you know, that you couldn't just go somewhere because the Earth would rotate and spin around the galaxy. But then someone fucking went out and proved that that's actually not what you would end up in the spot because of blah blah blah. Like someone did some scientific mojo on that idea.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like a play off that.
Right.
You know, that you end up in the same spot. Just you got the time wrong. You know, like
right. Yeah.
Dinosaurs. What if dinosaurs showed up and just he was stuck in Jurassic Park? Indiana Jones in the Jurassic world, right? Yeah.
Oh, I'm so tired of it. Those Jurassic World movies.
Him running through the jungle with the Tyrannosaurus Rex coming after him. Come on, he's got like an egg in his hand. He's gonna take an egg back.
I think it's like all been done. I don't know. I don't believe in dinosaurs anymore. Not like, you know, from a religious standpoint. In Hollywood for this current like iteration of filmmakers and everything. I'm anti-dinosaur. I'm anti-dino. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm a big fan of Dino Crisis, the video game. So bring back Dino Crisis.
Bring back Turok for Turok 64.
No, because there's only dinos in the first 3 levels, and then fucking aliens show up, and it turns to shit.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so that's the like general story of it. We're gonna see the movie when it comes out, and with you guys, I assume, and then we will like, you know, review it and read it and see how it holds up. Were the people at cons like correct? You know, is it not a good movie? When they talk about like looking at the structure of this, of what I think is the structure based off of this, and the critiques of the plot, this is how an Indiana Jones movie is organized. So that critique automatically for me gets thrown out. That's one thing where if that's your angle, you're fucking dumb. Get the fuck out of here. The angle about the about MacGuffins, like get the fuck out of here. That's the same, that's the same argument. That's stupid. Like it's literally like this is structured like an Indiana Jones movie. So on that front, I mean, I guess you could just say that that format is dumb and done, and you don't want it. Nothing would ever make you happy. That's fair. I mean, because that could literally be how people feel.
I just
Like that is
I just
fair, and
hope
that
that
could be, but also can't fault it for that.
if Marion and Indy's real rift is the death of Mutt, then obviously
Mhm.
there's something we're missing here. When they see he has to go. I went back. I tried. I wanted to. I tried to save him, but you know what I mean. Like it's not possible, or like and she's like something like you don't worry about the past. We still have a future. There's some line or something there that has to be actually
Mhm.
said or done to complete it. You know what I mean? Because if she just shows up and they ate ice cream and whoop, the movie's over.
No,
something's
no, no,
either
no,
missing,
no. To be
right?
clear,
Like, or
to be clear, she goes to the store to get groceries. She comes back with groceries. That's like her like reveal. And Teddy's like, "Oh fuck, ice cream." And then Helena's like, "Nah, Teddy, we're gonna go get better ice cream." Like because she wants them to be alone. They don't eat ice cream.
right.
Like it does it. Just to be clear, like they yeah. So it's like she's there. I think like I mean, the fact of the matter is that he comes back and he's like out of it, and all of his like his he thinks when Mutt dies, his family's gone. But I think like the idea being sold in the on paper, anyways, from what it appears, is Saul is there and his goddaughter Helena. Because there's a moment where Helena is going to get killed, and then he's like, "You're the last family I got," and then that's why he saves her. That's why he, what I mean. He says that, so he does care about her. And so at the end of it, he's got Marion is there for him, Sala is there for him, Helena is there for him. So when he comes back, his family isn't dead. He still has that, even though Mutt's gone. But so it's just not, the way he was conceptualizing it has now changed. Um, does it require you to do all of the work to figure that out? Or do you feel it naturally, or do you just not feel it? Or is the work there, but you don't feel it? I don't know. I'm going to say some of the people who saw it so far would have said that, what's Russell saying? If Indy inadvertently changed the past and somehow Mutt was revealed to be alive at the end, that might be interesting. A quick cameo by Shia right at the end. So Russell, Shia LaBeouf beat the shit out of his girlfriend, admitted to it, won't say sorry, but also went around killing dogs. He's a dog murderer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even if I mean, take your pick. Do you hate dog killers? Because he kills dogs. Do you hate dog killers more or girlfriend beaters more? Because he's both. So I don't see him climbing out from this. And so the only thing that they could have done was recast Mutt, and I would be okay with that. Like I'm okay with the idea if they ever want to recast Mutt and it turns out he's been in a fucking you know what I mean, like in the Viet Cong fucking prison this whole time, and he fucking bust out like
he's
like
Ram Mutt.
Yeah, exactly. And he comes back and he's a little bit different now, a little bit changed.
They got who was the guy who played Stallone's kid in that Rocky movie? They get him to be Mutt, right?
Yeah. Russell. I heard that. I was like, no fucking way. Like when I heard that about him, I thought that was like absurd. Looked into it, and yeah, he pretty much admits it. And that guy. So as far as it goes, I'm just like, fuck that dude. Don't care what your fucking problems are. Oh, hey, Filoni.
Jason, we was gonna get Ezra Miller to be Mutt, but you know what happened on the way to the market?
So Ezra Miller is Indy's other son, and they both turn up.
Oh yeah, that role's cursed, Jason. It's cursed. It's Indiana Jones and the cursed son. Know what I'm saying? You can't cast no one. I thought I'd play him, but I can't wear a cowboy hat in the '60s. It's not good.
Guys, Hollywood Reporter.
What we got?
It looks like there's oh, maybe it's just a dumb movie. I thought it was like actual drama with the Culkins and Pedro Pascal, but I think it's a movie that they're doing together. Anyways, though, yeah. So
It's not updating me. That's a shame. I just looked back.
What?
Did you see Filoni when I did the voice?
No.
Yeah, I flipped over, but it did not.
There
See,
you
look
are.
at that. There's a delay. Oh, that's
Really?
great, StreamYard. Really good job on the joke,
There.
StreamYard. That's just
No,
freaking
no.
wonderful. Like,
Sounds like user error to me. But no, but
yeah, I don't know how to turn on the Filoni cartoon or not. Like, yeah.
I've never seen you do it, so I don't know.
What is with this?
Jonesy says, have you ever known the story of a movie in advance and it turned out better on screen than you could have expected beforehand? Almost every time. That's usually knowing beforehand makes it better because you tend to shorthand everything and stuff like that. So
I'll give you a specific example. I didn't get to see any Filoni. Will you fucking go away? It's gonna be like a fucking 2-minute wait for this. Anyway, fucking StreamYard, just ruining my jokes. But so in the 80s, I didn't get to see any cool movies. The cool ones, the ones you all wanted, the ones we remember. I only movies I got to see in the movie theaters was the free ones that the radio station, the Q106, was giving tickets away to because my uncle, that's how he made his living. Like he just won shit off the radio. So I never got to see Batman or even Spaceballs, nothing fucking fun. But I would read the novelizations first because they'd be out like a month, sometimes 3 months before the movie came out. You know, and so like the Batman novelization had a bunch of shit in it that wasn't in the movie. There's a whole thing where he's on horseback, and you know, it's when he does the you want to get nuts bit in the think he's dead. There's a whole but the movie plays way better than the novelization. You know,
right?
Like, it doesn't. Yeah, and the jokes in the Spaceballs book weren't the jokes you get in the movie for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it does. It does happen, but the Phantom Menace book was better than the movie. Sorry to say.
Yeah, because it's expanded. So any questions that you had, it delves into. But I would also say, like, you know, they released the novelization before you're able to read it, and so that's why I had a good time with it. I mean, the problems that were there, I was like, oh well, I know. But anyways, I thought they were going to have. Junior says, I thought they were going to have Indy time travel back to Jesus' crucifixion, and Indy saves him, pulls him off the cross,
saves Jesus. He goes, "You're not Mel Gibson."
you know what's funny about that, Baymax? He says, except for Kenobi, on the leaks for Kenobi. What's funny is there were things where I'm like, I don't know why he doesn't cross the fire. I don't fucking know. I don't know. It doesn't, like, nobody told me. It just doesn't. And then like you watch the movie and it's the same. Like it's like literally like the same on that one, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. But well, no, I mean the reason behind it is that he's letting Kenobi run so he could chase him. But it's just in that narrative. Do you feel it? Do you get it?
No.
You know.
No, not really.
But yeah, but I think when I read the synopsis for Dial of Destiny, I was like, it sounds like it's a good story to me, and it sounds like, you know, if it's the execution is done like an indie movie, I think it's going to be a good indie movie. You know, I don't think it's going to have like Crystal Skull. I think, you know, it just has like those blemished moments that people couldn't get past. Some of them really stupid. Like I've always said, the waterfall sequence is the actual breaking moment for the film, not fucking CGI monkeys, you know, as far as I'm concerned. And it's like,
what if he had gone back and passed and he did go to Vietnam, and then they just use all the footage from other Vietnam movies, like Full Metal Jacket. Like they do the Back to the Future bit, but he's running through scenes from American Graffiti 2. He sees Toad. You know,
yeah. But all right.
Were there any funny Vietnam movies? Like, did they do any comedic? I don't remember there being any comedic Vietnam movies, right?
Yeah, there's not really like they kind of put that like on like Catch-22, which is a novel for, but like Catch-22 for like World War II and like MASH. They kind of like moved it to a different conflict than that one. Like, in the Vietnam, like, time and post-Vietnam
Korean
time.
conflict.
Yeah. So you end up with with like not really. I mean, the only thing I could think of that ever made a Vietnam joke was Back to the Future Part 2 was Surf Vietnam. Because at the time you were like, you can never surf in Vietnam, and then now you can. So now it's not even like it's
right.
Yeah. Junior says, the story is pretty cool. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is really hot. She looks really good in it. Yeah. She's skinny just like Harrison Ford likes them. I don't have any problems with her. I think she's hot. Hey, how's it going, Fandom? Says, loving the stream, fellas. Can't wait for Indy. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I do. I think it's going to be like a good. I think Indiana Jones fans are going to be fine with it. And my question is more like, if it is to form, in terms of like the way it's made, do modern audiences that watch Fast and the Furious and like Tom Cruise movies, do they fucking get it?
Hey,
do they go with it? No,
I'll get it.
Yeah,
but
you're also in your 40s.
You watch Tom Cruise movies.
I don't watch Tom Cruise movies.
You saw Top Gun like 3 times.
Okay, yeah, Top Gun.
It's a Tom Cruise movie.
I don't watch like Tom Gun. Okay, I meant
literally the Tom Cruise movie.
Rob. I mean Mission Impossible. I mean Christopher McQuarrie made 2023. How action movies are done today. Will people understand that
Top Gun?
Will people understand that Indiana Jones? I know, and I would also say that Top Gun 2 isn't made like Top Gun 1. Top Gun 2 is made like it's fucking made today. It's not done. It does throwback shit, and because people just forget, but it doesn't use like the editing conventions of 1986 and stuff like that. And like Indiana Jones is a series, and you do have to stick to it for the most part. Like I said, like I'm not a big fan of when the sequel trilogy does like flashbacks, which wasn't something that their first 6 Star Wars movies did. I'm not really a fan of this one doing it. When the other
back though,
when the other 4
force back being
being
a limited force power, you know what I mean? Like, is interesting.
Yeah, I mean
that they never do anything with it again.
That's what makes it like. Well, the problem is that they go and they set up intrigue, and then it's like they tell you the fucking joke, and there was no punchline written to the joke. That's the fucking problem with it. It's JJ fucking Abrams for us. So, so this movie, it's funny because it's damned if it does and it's damned if it doesn't. If it doesn't follow the Spielberg conventions entirely, then you end up being like, that's not Indiana fucking Jones. But if you follow really an 80s action, the 80s action adventure film, 100%, can modern audiences like dig with it? I don't know. But I think as a fan of it, I win either way. The reason why I went either way, because this movie could come out and make $1 fucking dollar, but it exists. I don't care if they make another one because Harrison Ford's not making another one. He's in his fucking 80s. By the time they got the fucking script done and got into production, he's not going to be making movies. So this is the last one, whether Ford wants it to be or not. That's just life. And so as far as I'm concerned, like as an Indiana Jones fan, if the movie's good, I will win. If the movie sucks and it takes forever for them to make another one and to like do something else with other people and just see what happens, then that's where I lose. But if it's fucking halfway
decent,
decent,
Rocketeers in the movie. Indiana Jones and a Rocketeer pack and shit. Like
I wouldn't worry about. I really wouldn't worry about that. Like I said, because I believe that wholeheartedly that they will do more Indiana Jones movies without Harrison Ford.
James Bond. I was bringing this up the other day. Like Kathy Kennedy came out and said that she wants the release of the Star Wars films to mimic James Bond.
Yeah,
but really, like, and I get all that. I'm not denying that. I get the idea behind it.
Yeah.
But Indiana Jones was James Bond at one point. Like so it's like it's rooted in James Bond. So having another actor take over the role and kind of like jumping around endless adventures in different eras, just makes sense.
Yeah,
like. It's like Batman. How many adventures can one guy have in a?
Well, you know what? No, you know what? Like my take on James Bond is, I would always set James Bond like in the 60s and 70s personally. And like
I'm with you on that.
that's how I like with Indiana Jones, like there's aspects of the indie universe that like for instance, if this movie is successful and does really really well, and like they decide to do a spinoff with Helena, like what's kind of cool about that is we get to go with her into the 70s, and then but within a decade we're in 1980, and then we're into that romancing the stone fucking style thing, and which it actually like would get
song?
to rip off what, you know what I mean, what was ripping it off. Right. And so anyways, like so there is stuff I hope like that I could see working and like could happen like through this. And you know, I don't know if the character sucks or not. And every single thing I've seen in the trailers, every single thing I've seen in the clips, she's good. She's fucking beautiful. She's good. She's like a good Indiana Jones, all that. So I'm like, so I'm not really thinking it's gonna be terrible. But then you have people that are like, she's terrible, and it's like there's people that don't like C-3PO because C-3PO is the foil to the group's like intent, right? But that's the point. And in Indiana Jones films, they're never a happy family who all get along and want the same things. You know what I mean? Like that's not how this genre works. So like there's people that like think, you know, she's standing up to Indiana Jones. And
it was Jewel of the Nile, Jason, when the tough get going. All right.
Oh yeah.
When styles away, do. When the going gets tough. Remember that one? Yeah.
And yeah, it's like and I like Jewel of the Nile and Romancing the Stone, but like when you watch them, you're like, oh, there's such a difference between Indiana Jones and what this does. Like there's such a huge difference. Like, and it's fucking what's his name, which is surprising. I think that's something why it's not even only reason why it's even watchable. It's because it's
what if we live in a world where Shia LaBeouf didn't murder dogs and beat up his girlfriend, right?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. What if we live in that world? And in the story, Mutt decided to cash in on his dad's adventures, and he's a writer of pulp novels. Indiana Jones, and it's all these adventures Indiana Jones never had, but he wrote all these other adventures, right?
Really? I mean, yeah, I
Marion could have done that too. She could have wrote it. She could have been a writer.
Yeah, I think like I said, I think he's, you know, he's dead for now. But if they were to continue it, you know, like what if you made a Helena movie and then, like I said, she rescues him and he wasn't dead and just recast. I think you do. I do think you don't let Shia. I mean, I think it was a good idea to have his death be what puts Indy into to his place in the story. I think that was smart. But yeah, but it doesn't have to mean that. He doesn't have to stay dead if they don't want him to. You know, the whole point is like Indy believing one thing and then being shown another thing. That's the character development, not the history of the moment. You know, but
he goes back in time and ends up in that scene from The Deer Hunter where Mike's playing Russian roulette with Christopher Walken. Remember that scene?
Yeah.
He's got to stop him.
Oh man, yeah, Deer Hunter. Well, anyways, all right. I'm gonna go. I'm done. I'm tired. I read too much today. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll talk about the Star Wars news. Oh, and before we go, Fandom said something I wanted to hit really quickly. Fandom Empire said, that being said, the Embracer Group had their earnings call today and was heavily hinted that the KOTOR remake is aiming for release next year, even though they haven't shown us any of the game yet. Yeah, and I think it was Jeff Grubb or somebody like that was like saying, I don't think that game's ever going to come out. And it's being put around saying that he said it's not going to come out. But he just said it was like him and his opinion based off of the flow of things, you know? But I will say, if we don't see it at that PlayStation event this week, I'm
these venture capitalists getting into video games thinking like they can just will shit to fucking happen. You know what I mean? Like games are so hard to make, Jason. When you actually, I know there's plenty of indie dev things you can go. You go watch the Double Fine Psych Odyssey documentary if you want to see how hard. It's a pretty fucking brutally honest documentary. It's the closest I can relate to how like games get made, but they're super difficult, you know. And to make a big RPG thing, dude, and that group that was managing that was like middleman. They're like the middle. How do I say? They outsource different sections to different mini studios. I don't know, man. Like you just can't will that into being in 12 months. It's a really big thing, you know. Really, tons of dialogue. You know, the scripts for those RPGs are insane. You know.
Yeah, I think Bespin was saying one time on the show that like they basically squandered $100 million on that game right at the start for a demo, and then they didn't even use that in the studio. They ended up changing it. So I don't know at what point they pull out on the game. There's a certain point where the game will not be profitable. So we'll have to see how much longer they can go before they just don't make the game. General Grievous doesn't have high expectations for Indy 5 at the moment. So yeah, hopefully when you see it, you are pleased. I don't know. Yeah, if it does, I will say though, if it does suck, if I don't like it, between that and Willow, I will be like, in episode 9, I'll be like, okay, I guess I'm not really following this shit anymore. You know?
At what point do you think there should be a leadership change if that's the case? Like,
well, the thing about it is that I don't even see leadership change necessarily fixing these things. You know, I don't
kind of Disney down problem, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, the things I find completely, utterly magical and unique and exceptional were fucking exceptional. And when they become the mainstream number one thing that the production companies make now, it's not exceptional anymore. So, you know, it's like, how do you don't just sit down and go, I'm going to write an exceptional film. I mean, I know you know this, Rob. I mean, like, I'm going to write the best song ever written right now and then go and do it. And
you don't make a viral video, you know.
It's
right.
I mean, you know, there's obviously things you can do to tee up to make it more likely. And usually I don't see the leadership at Lucasfilm stopping that part of it. I don't see like Kathleen Kennedy not pulling in like some of the fucking like best people or inspired people and then giving them apparently the tools that they need. So if it doesn't, you know, and it's just like, if it doesn't connect, that like I said, I think I'm just going to be like, wow, I don't know, you know, maybe I'm not going to follow this stuff anymore, you know, between shitting the bed on episode 9, Willow, and Indiana Jones. I mean, at that point, that's fucking like 3 strikes for me, you know? That's 3 big strikes.
So if this movie sucks, end of the podcast?
Or we'll just cover other stuff that we're interested
Marvel?
in. No, not. I'm not into it. I mean, I would, but I don't know.
Poker
you know,
face,
yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
but I mean,
we can team up with Jeff Snyder and just cover weird indie films, right? Like A24s. No. What else do you like, Jason? Fortnite? It's gonna become the Fortnite by making Fortnite.
Yeah, make Fortnite.
Oh God, no! You think you people hate me now? Just wait till I have to talk about that for an hour.
Like Rob, this new Spider-Verse skin. What do you think?
Just play the game, Rob. No. Then why are you on this podcast? Because I pay to be here.
Yeah. Jonesy says the Ahsoka series post-production is expected to be finished during May 23rd. Yeah, I don't know about
we
the post-production.
We can't quit the podcast just yet because we still have Andor season 2.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know Andor season 2. That's one I'd be like, yeah, I'm definitely in. You know, that one should be good. But Gilroy being gone for the end of it doesn't ruin it. Disney insiders. Yeah, so there's no Disney insiders saying anything. There was a fucking poster leak, and on the poster it said that, and they removed it. So I got to think the poster's probably, well, you could have 2 perspectives on that one, Jonesy. The date was right, and they just removed it, and then never updated us that was the date, or the date wasn't correct, and that's why they removed it. I'm of the opinion that the date wasn't correct because it was like a Thursday, not a Wednesday. It didn't really make sense that it would come out on that day. And so there's things about it that make me think probably not. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with those productions, especially with this writer strike. I don't know if Filoni's able to really wrap it up, or are they just taking it from him and finishing it and hoping that it's to his liking and that the strike is over and he's able to make any tuning, or did he leave directions about how everything was supposed to go for the strike? I don't know.
I wish I could turn the cartoon on. I'd have something to say about that.
Yeah,
this is a weird delay today. Let's see if it turns on.
I think he put out MapQuest. Probably.
No,
probably what he would do. But
why is it such a delay?
I don't.
I'm talking to you in real time. I don't get it.
I can hear you in real time.
I don't get it. The image delays.
Yeah,
so weird.
But so the post production, it should be wrapping up here, but we don't really know. I don't think anybody does until they say we it's wrapped. We're all done. But we never hear about post-production wrap, really. Usually. We don't know. They usually don't want us to know that. They don't want us to know when a series is just waiting to be released and they're sitting on it for 6 months because it's convenient for them and their release schedules or whatever happens to be. So I don't know. I'm hoping that that Ahsoka though is gonna nail it, because if the Ahsoka series comes out and that one sucks too, and then Mando 3 and Boba didn't really come, I have really low hopes for that film. In fact, if Ahsoka sucks, I don't even want that film to happen. That's where I'll be at. We don't need that as a film at that point. But that said, I'm not pessimistic about Indy. I'm not convinced that it's a bad film based off of the story that we heard, and then I hold the story that we heard against the criticisms of the story, and I'm like, it seems like you're just really trying to take a perspective, but clearly the movie didn't wow those people. Mando 1 to become an exceptional global phenomenon. I'm even gonna amend that and just say Grogu did, because it was also basic. But leadership did pretty well greenlighting the cash cow. You can't plan that to happen. True. Just like you can't plan a number one hit single. Exactly. I mean, you just can't. You can't say I'm gonna do, it's good. This is gonna be good. And sometimes you could even do the opposite. We're like, we're gonna give them all the money and all the time. And that one point in the production, everything is great, and then they have so much money and time that they just fuck it up, that they overthink it or overdo it, add too much ADR, explaining obvious shit, stuff like that. There is, anything could happen with the stuff. So that's why I a part of me is sort of excited for the post Kathleen Kennedy Lucasfilm. Not because I have a problem with her or I dislike her or I think she's the problem, just to be like, what's the shakeup going to do? But that could be a nightmare scenario too. It's just people voted for Donald Trump because they just wanted to see they thought the shakeup might put us someplace different. They're completely idiots and completely wrong. It was fucking foolish to think that, but and obvious. But that's kind of where I'm at with this, is who would replace her? Who would it be, and what would they bring, and what would change? What would the strengths of that Lucasfilm be that we don't have now? At a certain point, Kennedy will have brought everything that she has to give to it, and it will just be, she's just going through the motions, doing it over and over and over again. So somebody with a fresh perspective eventually will be good. And I mean, she's in her 70s now, so it's pretty soon she's going to want to retire, I would assume. I would think. But
Michelle Rejuan is not taking over. That's for certain.
She's gone. Yeah, I would have to think though that because I'm of the perspective, I've always said this, if you get a creative producer in there, because she's not one, and all of the internet doesn't realize this. If they get a creator producer in there, though, Dave Filoni becomes it. You just get that Filoni flavor. I could be wrong, but I don't know if Filoni, for instance, was the guy running it. I don't really think he would ever be the guy off the top of my head. I doubt it right now. But if he was, does he give us Andor? Can Dave Filoni give us Andor? I think that's a really fair question. And I don't know if the answer is yes.
But he's never been a producer. I mean, he ran the Clone Wars, but he wasn't producing Clone Wars, right? So it's more still a creative role. I mean, when you're greenlighting projects and producing them, that's why Gunn has Safran, Peter Safran. Peter Safran's handling all that business stuff. You can't be creatively involved.
Well, and
we don't time in the day, dude. Even Feige. That was an idea that
Rob,
people think Feige was putting in all that.
That is exactly the structure that they have at Lucasfilm right now. The structure of the Warner Brothers thing is mirroring the Star Wars things division, not the Marvel. It's actually modeled after Star Wars, from what I understand. Kathy is doing the and then there's all of these VPs. Like Filoni would be the creative. Right. He's not a VP, but it's not, she's just
but then
elevating president producer
to a CEO role is different. I mean, you got spreadsheets and fucking a bunch of other shit you got to deal with all day. I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And it's and that's Kennedy's doing a very similar thing to what Gunn and what's his name are doing. It's not really that different, but I think the main difference is in the perception of the creatives holding all the cards,
right?
Because I believe was Gunn. They didn't offer the job to Gunn. They offered it to the other guy. The other guy said, "I want Gunn to be my because he knows the shit. I'm not a nerd. I'm a fucking cool ass producer." Peter Safran. So no, so it went like that, and but we'll have to see, because if they don't produce it, or if they end up essentially following this pattern that Lucasfilm has at DC by some chance, kind of see that maybe that's not the way to do this. I mean, I doubt that'll happen. I think they'll make good films, but you never know. Kratos says, "Are we sure this is the official plot synopsis?" Well, there's no official plot synopsis, so it's not official. But is this stuff in the films? Yes, I have had it confirmed from people who saw the film that this is what happens. But once again, whenever you have a leaker, whether it's that person, whether it's Bespin or me, you're beholden to how we wrote it and how we interpreted it. And you and I could go see a movie and we could write what happened in a scene and Rashomon affect the fuck out of that, where we just see it from totally two different perspectives. Socioeconomics fucking come into play. All of these things come into play with how this stuff is reiterated. So it's
have Chat GPT explain to you the plot to a movie and see how interesting that fucking sounds.
Yeah. And then like I said, Kratos, I don't know if you heard at the start. This person, I believe, is French, and they're writing in English. And then we had to edit that because it was very difficult to read at times. So Bespin did a pass on it. So it's, I'm going to say give it room, to breathe. Don't hold its feet to the fire off of anything that was in there, because it might be incomplete. It might be a misinterpretation. Remember, this is somebody who saw the movie one time and then is reiterating what they saw days later too. I think they're doing a very good job, considering how much data is in a film like that. Yeah.
The person who's the best at that is Kevin Smith. Because anytime Kevin Smith would go see a movie, he'd go, "Here's my review of Guardians 2." And then he would just tell the whole movie from beginning to end. I'm like, that's not a review. He literally just, it's you don't need that man has a memory for something. That's crazy. I couldn't recite to you a movie, scene by scene by scene, but with every little detail. I soak it in. I get it, but
you remember when I went to that fucking test screening and I came back and I pretty much did that for you that one time?
Yeah, and I was like, that's not a review. You just stole the whole movie in your head and just told everybody.
Yeah, you know, like
Dicks.
when I if I look at a film or like something I'm seeing, I am able to like turn on like super concentration mode, activate, and then look at it and then like sit there and do it. But if I just sit down to passively watch a movie and then try to do it, that's when I can't do it. You know what I mean? Like if I know this is special, fucking pay attention, perk up, I can do it. But if I just randomly went to see a movie and I didn't care, I couldn't do it. But yeah, Chris says, for example, the time loop thing. How did it originate if Archimedes didn't have the clock's knowledge to create the dial without Waller's watch? And that's why we're calling it a paradox in at least the way it was written. And yeah, and I think that is sort of how I think the story is going to atone itself with the fact that that is a paradox. And then in doing so, and I don't really know how they get back. Like they don't show it. But like, do we see like the electricity in the sky? We just know that they walk into it. Like, does she just walk them through it, and then now they're home?
The DeLorean
I don't know.
electricity.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, so there's like little things there, but I do think that the Waller's watch is what creates those other watches that he was trying to make. So I think they did inadvertently participate in this time paradox kind of thing. I think that's the implication. But when we see the movie, that's when we'll know. And one of the positive things about going through these spoilers like this is when we do see it, we are going to be able to evaluate. Like there's going to be people who leave that movie going, "That's fucking dumb because of this," and they might misunderstand it and then call it dumb. Whereas we're going to know and understand it, and if it is dumb, be able to call it that with some. We are prepared. You know, that's the way I look at it. So, and there's been a lot of studies. There's been credible studies that people who follow spoilers enjoy films more. And yeah, so, you know, this probably should help according to most studies, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the younger generation won't know this, but like every fucking film we ever wanted to see as a kid was spoiled for us, Jason. Right?
Kratos.
Every one of them.
Oh, yeah. Kratos says, to me, this ending, if true, is a consequence of Lucasfilm's reshoots. So that's what you're going to hear, Kratos, for fucking certain. But you can go back to my show and you can see that I put out that Marion was in the film. Yeah. Before that would have happened.
Yeah.
So which proves that isn't true. And the grifters, they won't acknowledge that. They won't acknowledge that exists, that happened, because it will ruin their narrative. But 100% Kratos, I believe, or Kratos, that will is it Kratos? Yeah, it's Kratos. Will fucking pop up like that. That will be a narrative thing, and it's actually, we can prove is not true, isn't true.
Folks,
because
do you know how happy Jason was the day he told me Marion was coming back?
Yeah,
Jason was gonna break. He was so happy, and nobody watched that video.
Well,
nobody cared.
You know what happened was we did the video, and then like those people that like do like the tweet thing where they will like and then they just like want the likes on their like the tweets. They just take the info from articles and do that. Like I got a bunch of those, so it at least got the credit in some ways on some pretty big tweets from that. So I don't know if it ever brought anybody over, but yeah, but we'll see. But Jonesy says Dave Filoni is that he is good at connecting the old with the new. He doesn't hate the prequels like both Kathleen Kennedy and JJ do. He also worked closely with George Lucas. Gives me hope. So I don't think Kennedy hates the prequels. I think she's very pro George and very much a producer who, champions the directors and like works for them. I think that Disney and the marketing were afraid of the prequels more than anything. But also when you look at today, I've seen more battle droids and Trade Federation content than I saw in the prequel films in Kathleen Kennedy's era.
An acolyte.
You know what I mean?
It's an acolyte. The Trade Federation or the Nemodians are an acolyte.
It's an acolyte. It's in this video game that just came out. It's in
and not for nothing.
It's all over.
The coolest fucking part of Rise of Skywalker was that trailer where they put the Duel of the Fates in there and then they didn't even use it.
Yeah.
What is that?
Ginger Jingle says, I'm actually pretty excited to see Rey back in action for episode 10. Daisy Ridley is really hot. Yeah, I mean that movie, obviously won't be episode 10, but they will do episode 10 for sure. Kratos says, I missed that video or part of that video. I trust you both. Till now, as I've heard from you, was particularly accurate. Thanks for the answers. Yeah, I always do my best to accurately say what I believe is happening and what I hear, so I'm not right all the time, but I usually write because if I don't have anything to say, I just usually don't say it. So that's the way to be, I guess. All right. Well, anyways, my kids are home from school and I got to make snacks. They're having a snack attack. So I let them walk home on their own today for the second time. Yeah, we're trying it. So, but anyways, we'll see everybody tomorrow, probably at 1:00 Pacific Standard Time, talking about whatever the Star Wars news is. Hopefully it's good news. And so we'll talk. We'll have a show tomorrow either way. So we'll see everybody then. And I guess this will probably be our last Indiana Jones show until we see the movie. I think we've done it all now. So all right.
No, wait, maybe when John Williams' score goes up on the stream, right? We'll talk about listening to that, right?
Yeah, I'll listen to it.
We probably will.
I'll listen to it.
We'll listen to it.
Right. Might not come out top to the movie though, so we'll see. All right. Okay. Rob, I need you to try to figure out what happened today with that Dave Filoni graphic. I mean, what's wrong, dude? Is something
StreamYard?
What's going on?
StreamYard.
I don't know. I hate
StreamYard.
Look. I'm able to put. I don't have any problem getting it up, Rob. Why do you have a problem getting it up?
Oh, well.
Okay. All right. Anyways, thanks, Rob.
You got an hour?
No. I think Rob misses the German girls. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. And then thank you, Rob. We'll see everybody tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the end of the show. Come
on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on.